When people hear the name Alexander the Great, they often picture a young king leading armies across continents, defeating powerful empires, and carving out one of the largest empires in the ancient world. But behind Alexander's incredible rise stood another remarkable man, his father Philip II of Macedonia. Though history tends to remember Alexander as the conqueror, it was Philip who laid the foundation, transforming a weak and fragmented kingdom into a military powerhouse. Philip was born in 382 BC in the Macedonian capital of Pella, the youngest son of King Amyntas III. Unlike his elder brothers, Philip spent part of his youth as a hostage. In 368 BC, he was sent to Thebes in southern Greece as a political hostage, a common practice used to ensure peace between rival states. But this time in captivity became one of the most formative periods of his life. In Thebes, Philip lived among some of the greatest military minds of the age. He observed the Theban general Epaminondas, who had recently defeated the Spartans and introduced radical changes to Greek warfare, including deep phalanx formations and emphasis on combined arms. By 359 BC, the Macedonian throne was in crisis. Philip's elder brother, King Perdiccas III, had been killed in battle against the Illyrians, and the kingdom was under threat from both foreign invasions and internal disorder. Macedon at the time was a fragile state. It had a history of weak kings, tribal divisions, and threats from neighboring powers like the Illyrians, Thracians, and Greeks. Philip was appointed as regent for his infant nephew, the son of Perdiccas, but he quickly took power into his own hands. He was about 23 years old and facing enormous challenges, but instead of panicking, he took bold and calculated steps. He reorganized the army, negotiated peace where necessary, bribed enemies when it suited him, and used diplomacy alongside military power. Within a year, Philip declared himself king and began a process that would change the history of Greece forever. One of Philip's most significant contributions was the transformation of the Macedonian military. Drawing from what he had seen in Thebes and combining it with his own innovations, he introduced the Macedonian phalanx. This formation used longer spears called sarissas, which were about 18 feet long, twice the size of traditional Greek spears. These weapons gave Macedonian soldiers a reach advantage in battle. But Philip didn't stop at equipment. He professionalized the army, creating a standing force that trained year-round. His companion cavalry became one of the most effective striking forces of the ancient world. This wasn't just an army, it was a war machine built with discipline and innovation. With his reformed military, Philip began expanding his influence. He defeated the Illyrians in 358 BC, securing Macedonia's northern borders. He then turned eastward and gained control over gold mines in Thrace, which significantly boosted his treasury. By 348 BC, he had destroyed the city of Olynthus and absorbed the Chalcidice region. He also used strategic marriages to strengthen his position. Among these marriages was one to Olympias, a princess from Epirus, who would become the mother of Alexander. Philip didn't just expand territorially, he also gained influence within the Greek city-states, through a combination of diplomacy and military pressure. Philip's most decisive moment came in 338 BC at the Battle of Chaeronea. The Greek city-states, especially Athens and Thebes, had become alarmed by Macedonian power and formed an alliance to stop him. In the ensuing battle, Philip's army decisively defeated the Greek coalition. According to ancient sources, Alexander, then only 18 years old, played a key role in leading the cavalry during this battle. The victory at Chaeronea marked the end of Greek independence and the beginning of Macedonian dominance. Philip formed the League of Corinth, a political and military alliance that united almost all Greek city-states under his leadership, with the notable exception of Sparta. For the first time in history, Greece was politically unified, not under a native Greek city-state like Athens or Thebes, but under the leadership of Macedonia. With Greece under his control, Philip turned his attention to the long-standing enemy of the Greeks, the Persian Empire. He positioned himself as the avenger of past Persian invasions and began preparations for a full-scale campaign into Asia Minor. In 336 BC, he sent an advance force to Asia under the command of Parmenion, one of his top generals. The invasion was no longer just a dream, it was already in motion. But in 336 BC, during the wedding of his daughter Cleopatra to the king of Epirus, Philip was assassinated by one of his bodyguards, a man named Pausanias. The motives remain a subject of historical debate. Some believe it was a personal grudge, while others suspect a broader conspiracy. At just 20 years old, Alexander inherited his father's kingdom and his unfinished dream of conquering Persia. Alexander may have conquered the world, but it was Philip who made it possible. Philip II of Macedonia left behind a legacy that is often overshadowed by his son's achievements, but his contributions were arguably just as vital. He turned Macedonia from a minor kingdom on the edge of the Greek world into the dominant power of the region. He created the military system that Alexander would later use to conquer the Persian Empire. He unified the Greek city-states, some of which had fought for centuries without resolution.